Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 14 years now, we've been asking the Frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. Well, we're meeting with Tim Conn, the founder of the Image One franchise opportunity. And from their customer communication and environmentally friendly methods to their in-depth training and ongoing support, Image One has created an opportunity that calls for prospective franchise owners who are looking for a career, not just a job. I'm going to talk to Tim about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 14 years now, we've been asking the Frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott, and I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. Well, we're meeting with Tim Conn, the founder of the Image One franchise opportunity. And from their customer communication and environmentally friendly methods to their in-depth training and ongoing support, Image One has created an opportunity that calls for prospective franchise owners who are looking for a career and not just a job. Hi, Tim. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Marty. How you doing? It's great to be here.
Thank you, Tim. It's great to have you on this show. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from today, Tim?
I'm actually in Fort Myers, Florida.
Ah, good for you. Is that where's the headquarters located, Tim, for Image One?
Yeah, the headquarters for the office is up in Rolling Meadows, Illinois, which is just northwest of the city of Chicago.
Okay, fantastic. I was telling my son earlier before the show today, Tim, that he's 13 years old now. And I said, today I'm going to be talking to a gentleman who started his own business at 14 years old. And I don't know if it's impressive to you, but it's impressive to me and a lot of people that I talk to. I think for Image One, we have to kind of go back to that time, right? I mean, because that's really where I think all of this began. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that time and the history of Image One.
Yeah, I think a lot of entrepreneurs do get an early start. Maybe not as early as I did, but so many of us, you start out whether it's a lemonade stand or cutting grass and shoveling snow, whatever it might be. But when I was 14 years old, my parents owned their own business. I'd always been around business, and they had a 2-story, 10,000 square foot office building that they occupied part of it for their business, and then they rented out part of it, and they needed a cleaning service. And getting to the point where, I wanted money for my first car when I would turn 16. And, turned to my parents and said, hey, would it be okay if I did cleaning at your building? And that's how it all got started.
That's amazing. It's really impressive. And then over time, then I guess, I know you partnered with another gentleman, Tim. Talk about that. At that time when you realized that, I guess, and not to say you weren't serious, but you really got serious about the business, didn't you?
Yeah, so, from the time that I was, 14 and then all through high school and through college, I actually grew a substantial business that was big enough that by the time I was graduating, I realized I didn't need to go out and, fight with all my classmates over jobs.
Right, exactly.
I was already, had a successful business that I think was billing around $30,000 or $35,000 a month at that point. And again, for a kid that's 21 years old, that was a substantial business. But by standards today, I know it was small. But for me at the time, that was huge. It was great.
Yeah,
of
course.
I continued to do that after college for another 8 years, and then I met my partner Mike, and we did he had bought a master franchise, and so we did a 10-year agreement together in that. And when that expired, that's when Image One was born.
That's terrific. I mean, it's a great story. And how did you know, Tim, at what point, I guess, that you were ready to franchise Image One? It probably, I realized you probably had everything down. It was all systematized. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, all the time that I spent in the cleaning industry, really prepared me to help our franchise owners grow. So that was really the key, and I think that's one of the things that really sets us apart from so many other people, is because I've been there. I've been in the shoes of the guy that's just starting out and growing a business. We did. We put together all of the training and the policies and procedure manuals, all based on those real life experiences. And there were so many mistakes that I made in the early years, and that's really what having a franchise helps franchisees in any industry to avoid. Because those mistakes have already been made, and the franchisor has those policies and those procedures laid out so that the franchisees don't have to repeat those mistakes. And that's, to me, that's one of the most exciting things about it is, we can help, anyone in the franchise industry can help the franchisees get past those problem early issues that they might have if they tried to do something on their own.
Yeah, I think that's so important, Tim, and that's what I got. When I was studying your model, it's I think what I learned after all these years is to look towards the experience of the founder or who was ever running the organization, and you've been doing this such a long time now that you're right, that your franchisees don't have to make the same mistakes that you made in the past, and I think that's fantastic. So Image One is during commercial cleaning. How do you typically describe Image One to, like, if you're meeting with a prospective franchisee for the first time, Tim, or you were at a franchise show? How do you describe the concept?
It's cleaning, but it really isn't about cleaning. It's really about customer service. And technology. We very early on we adapted into using iPads and getting into the technology sector that our competition still, 15 years later, doesn't have a lot of things that we have. And that's really one of the things that we focus on. And, really in the last 12 months, the focus has really been on cleaning. because people realize that every other franchisor or every other franchisee in every other industry needs our franchise.
That's
because
right.
Everybody needs that cleaning done, and that's something that's really cool. And our franchise owners have really done some amazing things in the last 10 to 12 months because disinfection has always been something that the cleaning industry is focused on, but now everybody is looking and saying, wow, this is something that's really important. We're not just cleaning for the perception of clean, but we're cleaning really for the purpose of disinfection. And really we've really come out to help our franchise owners become disinfection specialists. To help other businesses, reopen and stay open, so that they don't have issues with their team members or their patrons that are coming in to visit their locations.
Right.
So that's really been an important thing in the last several months.
It's interesting. I guess originally I was going to use the word exciting, but it's probably not the best word to use, Tim. But I mean, I'm just in thinking about what you just said. I mean, even thinking of the name of your business, Image One. I mean, I guess so. In the past, your service satisfied the need for an image, but I mean today, so I guess we're about like 1 year almost into COVID. Now there's this additional need, is what you're saying, is for really you're cleaning, as you said, for like health purposes, and it's interesting that shift in your business. I mean, I don't want to use the word exciting because it's probably not the proper word to use, right? But I guess there's this opportunity or bigger opportunity than what you've had in the past, that you got these two needs. Is you got the need for image, of course, which is important for any business, but now, I don't even want to say even more so, but that health image, it sounds like that's what you're saying, and I think that's important.
Yeah, you're dead on, and me too. I hate to use the word opportunity in a time of crisis or it just because it sounds bad. But the reality is, and our franchise owners recognize this, that they're going out there helping other businesses in their time of need.
Yes.
And so that is an opportunity, and it is huge. And we were smart and lucky enough early on when this whole thing came out that we said, we're going to make a slight pivot, and we're going to start doing a lot more disinfection. And, we went out and we've got a whole bunch of electrostatic sprayers for our franchise owners that they had the equipment available to them.
Right.
And they were really able to capitalize on the fact that they had this equipment at a time when everybody needed to have it. And they were able to go out and create a new income stream that really didn't exist before. It was there, but in a very, very small part of what they did. And now it's mainstream. And everything you see on TV, from the airlines to restaurants to hotels, they're all doing electrostatic spraying. They're having services like ours come in to do that for them, because now that's the norm. It's a necessity. You have to do it. Right. And so that was really great. Was that our franchisees were able to pivot and make that turn and make an adjustment in very short time to help them continue to grow their business at a time when a lot of businesses were really struggling.
Right. What's interesting about you too, Tim, is that you've, in studying your model, it seems to me you were proactive, with technology. I mean, it seems like you were using Zoom before Zoom was even like a thing, right? I mean, it's like you embraced technology, and I think that helped Image One to some extent, didn't it?
Absolutely. Zoom was just one thing that we were an early adapter when that stuff came out, because I like to be able to see our clients, our franchise owners face to face, and sometimes I'm not there in the same state with them. So it's great to be able to talk to them and actually see them. And it was like the greatest kept secret until this year, and now everybody knows about it. But stuff like that, and we developed an iPad app back in 2011. For our franchise owners to be able to use for bidding and estimating. And we've just continued down that path of growing that technology, because every industry is going that way. And if you don't make those changes and adapt to that, then you get left behind. And imagine if IBM never changed from making typewriters into making computers.
Exactly. It's a good analogy. That's fantastic. What separates you, Tim? As you know, I mean, there's other, of course, players in the franchise arena and even like the non-franchise arena. So I'm sure the question comes up, when you're meeting with a prospective franchisee. I think you hit on a bunch of them, but what separates an Image One franchise from other players that are in the industry?
The cleaning industry as a whole, it's so fragmented. There are literally thousands of mom and pop companies, probably tens of thousands of mom and pop companies that are out there, and they don't have the systems in place. They don't have the policies, the procedures. They don't have the proper protocols for disinfection, and they do a good job, but they're mom and pop companies, and that's okay because there's a place for them. And on the franchise side, I think that there's so many franchises that are out there in the cleaning industry, and they all try to do it on the same model. And so when we decided we were going to franchise, we said, you know what, we're going to do it completely different than all of the other franchise models that are out there. Almost all of them operate on a master and unit kind of system, and we're not going to do that. We're not going to put a middleman between our franchisees and us. We want to deal directly with them. We want to train them to do their sales, train them to do their operations, so they can build their business to whatever size they'd like without limitation. And that's why we developed the software was to help them, to enable them to be able to do that. Because, realistically, they can walk into any client's facility, enter all the information on the iPad, and before they walk out the door, they can give them a price. And that is not something that anybody else in our industry has.
The technology is fascinating, isn't it, Tim? I mean, it just seems like it moves so fast. I mean, if you go back to when you were 14 years old, and you've seen a lot of different eras of your industry. I mean, the technology is really, it has certainly simplified the process, hasn't it?
Oh, it has. Back in the mid '80s, I was 18 years old when I bought my first cell phone, and now everybody has them, and it was no big deal. But back then, it was the big brick phone. I used to keep in my back pocket. And I remember one of my clients.
I remember.
He was a real estate guy. He owned several strip malls, and he saw me walking out. And he goes, "Oh, you guys use radios? That's great." I said, "No, it's a portable phone." And he was like, "You're kidding me? Can I see that?" And he was amazed. And this guy was double my age.
That's great.
He had never seen a portable phone, And so I handed it to him. It just furthered that conversation. So again, early adoption of technology, I think, is something that I've always been a part of because I always wanted to,
that's wonderful.
to have the newest and the coolest stuff. And we've continued that through the growth of the company. And even yesterday I was on the phone with a prospective supplier that does robotic auto scrubbers.
Oh my God!
Because as the labor market tightens in every industry, people are looking for automation and different things to do. So now there's robotic technology for cleaning, so that if you don't have people to fill that position, the equipment does the job on its own. So
that's incredible.
It makes the franchise owners that much more flexible and able to manage what they need to do for their clients without having as much labor in that building.
You're listening to Franchise Interviews, and today we're speaking with Tim Conn, and Tim is the founder of Image One Franchise Opportunity. And from their customer communication and environmentally friendly methods to their in-depth training and ongoing support, Image One has created an opportunity that calls for prospective franchise owners who are looking for a career and not just a job. Well, one question I have, we kind of, I don't want to say we stump our guests, Tim, but I think it's a difficult question to answer, but what's been one of the most interesting things that's happened to you since launching Image One? I'm sure if you and I were sitting down having a cup of coffee together, you have 100 stories, but does anything stand out, I guess, maybe over the last several years?
There's so many things, that are just cool and exciting things.
Right.
The things I like to focus on are, the positive things, and it's the stuff helping our franchise owners to achieve the goals that they're looking for. That's really the thing that stands out to me. There was one time, and this goes back a few years, I was walking out of our office, and one of our franchise owners pulled in, and she jumps out of her car, and I said, "Diane, you bought a Jaguar?" And she had the biggest smile on her face, and she said, "I did." She goes, it was always my dream car. I wanted to have it." And she came up and she goes, "Don't tell anyone, it's not brand new." I said, "That's okay. Don't worry about it."
Right, who cares, right?
Awesome.
It's a Jaguar.
You had that goal, and you went out and you did that. And to me, stories like that, those are the most rewarding things. Whether it's someone that bought their car or they bought their new home or a second home maybe, or they paid for their kids to go to college and were able to not have to take on huge debt to do that. Those are the things that to me are just, it's so rewarding helping our franchise owners accomplish those goals. And to me, that's the best part about what we do.
Did you know, Tim? I mean, if you kind of go back, at an early age, I mean, did you see this big picture at a young age, or is it something that just kind of evolved over the course of time?
Yeah, I never imagined in a million years that we'd franchise our business. Yeah. It was never a thought, never an idea.
Right.
And we kind of just stumbled into it and realized, hey, this is a great opportunity to show other people what we can do to help them to achieve what we've achieved. And we took our employees that were with us back in my original company, and we offered them all the opportunity to have a franchise. And they thought that was great, because it was they were just in a very low-level position. And early on, we said, you know what, hey, we're going to open this up to you guys before anyone else. If you'd like to do this, let us know, and you'll be the first group of franchise owners. And we had some that jumped in and said, yeah, this is fantastic. What a great opportunity. And so, no, I never thought that it would have turned into what it has. But it's been very rewarding.
It is. It's an amazing story. And, I'm thinking about your industry, Tim. It's one of the things we always go back to as we look at the industry. I mean, your industry, and I don't know what the numbers are, maybe you do. I mean, but it's safe to say that you're a part of a huge industry. But it seems to me now, and we were kind of like hinting upon this earlier, that there's going to be some growth in this industry as well, I guess, with the evolution of COVID and things like that. I mean, is that safe to say you're part of a big industry and perhaps even a growing industry?
Yeah, the cleaning industry, there's different numbers that are out there depending on what you include and what you don't include, whether it's, just regular commercial cleaning or if it's including floor care, carpet care, all those different things. But it's somewhere around $100 billion with a B.
That's incredible.
Dollars per year.
Yeah.
That's the annual of the cleaning industry as a whole. And that's a pretty big pie for everybody to share.
That's terrific.
And I think it is. We're going to see changes over the next few years because of COVID, and I think that we're going to see the way offices are laid out are going to be different. We're going to see the way they need to be cleaned are going to be different. And there's a great amount of opportunity that's there for our franchise owners and just for the industry as a whole to make those changes and excel because of it.
Yeah, and I imagine I'm thinking just of your customer base. I mean, I'm sure there's a variety of different types of customers. I mean, what's important, or because you've been doing this such a long time, Tim, what's most important to your customers? I mean, when you're talking about commercial cleaning. Until
this year, or until the past 12 months, I really think that appearance was the most important thing. A lot of times we would go into a facility and we'd give them a price for the top level cleaning, and they'd scale things back. They'd say, what, don't worry about doing the door handles every day. Don't worry about doing the telephones every day. Now, though, they've turned around and said, you know what, those absolutely have to get done. We'd rather you not empty the trash, but you hit all those high touch surfaces that people are touching their hands to their face, and then they're touching doorknobs and things like that. So it's kind of changed, and every business is different. It depends if it's a small office and there's only a handful of people that are there, and it's kind of a bubble environment where they don't have a lot of people coming in and out. Or you've got other places that it's a restaurant or it's a movie theater where there's a high volume of people that are coming and going on a daily basis. And they have very specific needs for those types of businesses. And so we write the specs specifically for what they're looking for to keep their facility clean and germ-free as best as possible.
And what I love about your model, too, Tim, is the repeat sale factor. You know what I mean? Is I guess, you were mentioning earlier customer service is important to you, and that leads to relationships. But, of course, then there's that repetitive sale factor, isn't there? It seems like it's ongoing. You maybe touch a little bit upon that, because I think that's a great part of the model.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about this industry is it is a recurring revenue model.
Right.
When you go and you sign a contract with a bank or a car dealer
right.
or any other client that you might clean for. It's at least a 12-month contract. Sometimes it's 24 or 36 months if it's a big enough contract. If there's an investment equipment and things, you do a 3-year contract. That's nice. It's a 3-year recurring revenue. You compare that to so many other businesses where every month they have to go out and get new clients, new revenue to come in. They have to constantly be selling and selling and selling to do that. And that's a challenge. So that's a huge benefit. And then on top of the recurring revenue, then you've got the one-time jobs. A client that you clean every month. Twice a year they want their floors to be stripped and waxed. Twice a year they want their carpets to be cleaned. Or if there's they're moving into a new office, there has to be a construction clean done, and they have to have a post-move-out clean from their old office. So there's all these little add-on services that can be done as well.
You're listening to Franchise Interviews, and today we're speaking with Tim Conn, and Tim is the founder of the Image One Franchise Opportunity, and from their customer communication and environmentally friendly methods to their in-depth training and ongoing support, Image One has created an opportunity that calls for prospective franchise owners who are looking for a career and not just a job. And maybe we can jump a little bit to franchising, Tim. I mean, when you're meeting with a prospective franchisee, what types of characteristics or traits do you think are important for them to be a match for Image One? You've been doing this such a long time now, so you could probably determine if they're going to be successful or not. So what do you look for?
That's true. And when I personally sit down with somebody or if I sit down with them in a Zoom call, one of the first things is they have to have the right attitude. If they're going to be successful in any business, they have to have the right attitude. That's so much. And you have to get along with the franchisees and the franchisor, because it's a long-term relationship. Most franchise agreements are 10 years, and that's it's a lot like a marriage.
Sure, of course.
You almost have to date the person a little bit to get to know them before you're going to make that commitment. That's going to be a lifetime commitment. 10 years is a long time to be in business with somebody.
Very long time.
And just as messy as it can be for if you choose the wrong spouse, a divorce can be very expensive and messy. If you choose the wrong franchise, it can get very expensive and messy. So I think people need to proceed with caution and make sure they're making the right decision. And to us, that's one of the biggest things about when we award a franchise. We won't give it to a person simply because they can write the check. Really, that's the last thing we're concerned about. The most important thing is that they're going to fit in with our culture. They're going to have the right attitude. We know what their goals are and where they're trying to go with it, because the franchise, no matter which one they buy, I feel like it's the vehicle to get them to where they want to go. Maybe they're buying their Image One franchise just because it's the vehicle that they want to get them to the next level, so that they can then sell this franchise and buy that next franchise. That's true. And if that's what they want, that's great. We'll help them do that.
And I understand too. I mean, you have franchises of all different sizes too, Tim. I know that you had one franchise. I guess they hit the $1 million mark. So I mean, I guess there's all sorts of shapes and sizes for your franchisees, and I think that's important. Does a sales background does it help for to be an Image One franchisee? I'm sure it doesn't hurt, does it?
Yeah, a sales background is always going to be helpful, no matter what business you're in, and customer service. Those are really the two things that are the most important. And most times you're not going to have someone that has both of those. Right. So then, then it's up to them to hire to their weakness. If they're good in operations and in customer service, then they hire a salesperson. If they're great in sales, then they do the sales and they hire someone from the operations side of it. It's really, it's a 50-50 shot of which one you're going to be best at and which one you're going to hire to your weakness. Or sometimes it's a husband and wife team. That one goes out and does sales, the other one does operations and manages. That's true, right? And that works really well as well. There's no right or wrong way to do it. And what you were saying about the size of the business. Some of our franchise owners they're small and they just got a small crew of people that are managing a handful of accounts. And there's other ones that really want to blow it up and grow a huge business, like the one that you mentioned. I think he's got near 100 accounts, and I think he's got about 25 employees. And I mean, he's got a substantial business, which is fantastic.
And I know training it always seems to have been important to you, Tim. I mean, maybe you could talk a little bit about the training. I know training is different today. I mean, it's been a theme. The show last year was, COVID kept coming up and saying, okay, the training's a little different. But, maybe you could talk a little bit about the training. What's it like now, or what will it go back to? When I guess you could say COVID is over. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, I don't know if COVID will ever be over.
That's true, right? It doesn't seem like it, right?
Yeah, I think it's something we might just have to expect that we're going to live with in the long term.
Yeah,
it's just kind
that's
of
a good point.
We need to make an adjustment,
Right.
But I think things are already, returning to normal, at least as normal as they can possibly be. But, from a training standpoint, what we do with our new franchise owners is they come up to Chicago, they spend a week with us learning every aspect of the business. They learn all about our software, they learn about sales, operations.
Yeah.
They go out with franchise owners in the evenings and actually clean because they need to understand what that is when they're starting to train their employees. And then we've got a series of videos that they can watch that they're gonna learn about everything about cleaning. And those same videos are for them to use with their employees to train them to do the cleaning. We've got videos on operations, how to do inspections, customer service, how to do sales, all those different things. We really spend a lot of time with them. And then we go to them in their market, and we'll send one of our national account reps out to work with them in sales.
That's great.
And the week before that they go out there, our call center is dialing the phones like crazy, booking appointments in their market so that we can do training with them in their market.
That's
going
great.
to those accounts and giving proposals to those prospects, and hopefully close some deals in that first week that we're out there for training. And then a month after that, we go back out there and we do operations training with them. So they get 3 full weeks of training, and then we go out to every market a minimum of once a quarter. But for a new franchise owner, we've been going out there for a lot of them 3 or 4 days every month for that first year to really hit the ground running and help them to really get a good jump start and hit the goals that they're looking to hit.
So when I have someone like yourself on the show, Tim, I mean, who can definitely tag you as an entrepreneur, what advice would you give to our listeners? We call them aspiring franchipreneurs. I mean, most of them have it in their mind they want to buy a franchise. But as you know, it seems like there's so much out there today, and we find that so many of them don't even know where to begin. So it becomes a little bit overwhelming. From everything you've learned up to this point, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise?
It's funny that you say that because I felt that 100%. And I apologize if I didn't bring this up before. And hopefully you're not going to be mad that I bring this up now because this is not a commercial for my book.
No, not at all.
I wrote a book last year called No New Ideas.
Oh, wow. I'm going to have to read that.
It became an Amazon bestseller almost immediately.
Oh, that's great.
The whole point of it was to help people walk through the process of buying a franchise.
Yeah.
So it walks them through every step because, most times when I've gone to a franchise show and where we have a booth, I look at people and they walk in, they're like a deer in the headlights.
Exactly.
Because all of a sudden they see there's 500 different franchises for them to look at, and they had no idea.
Yeah.
And they walk around confused and dazed, talking to all these people, and they have a bag full of literature, and they get home, and they dump out the literature. They're even more confused and more overwhelmed.
Exactly.
And when you're overwhelmed, what do?
Right.
Nothing.
You quit. Yeah,
when you're overwhelmed, you do nothing.
Exactly.
So they take all that stuff and they throw it back in the bag and they put it on the shelf and they say, I'll get to that later.
There. Yeah.
And they don't, So I wrote the book to help people walk through that process so they understand, what should they be looking for in a franchise? How do they decide if they want a brick and mortar franchise or if they want a home-based franchise, if they want to be in retail or if they want to be in service, if they want B2C or they want B2B. And then what does that process look like, through choosing the franchise and vetting the franchise, talking to other franchisees, going to that discovery day, all of that stuff is in the book. And it's a very conversational book. I was actually told by everyone that read it and the reviews that came in on it that it was such an easy read, that it was such a great great help for them when they were going through the franchise process. And I didn't do it to make money. I did it to give back to the community, and it really doesn't even talk about Image One other than the history of what we do. It's not a commercial for our company. It's really to help people that are looking for a franchise to figure out what they what direction they should go and that they make the right choice.
It's so important because, we've been doing the podcast now for 14 years, Tim, and I found the same thing is that, and it's interesting because I think a lot of times when people start the process, they might have a preconceived notion of what they'd like to get into. But in many instances, once they start the process, they find themselves going into a totally different type of franchise they never even expected, and I guess it's important to, I'm going to have to read the book, but, I guess to have an open mind when you're going through this process as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. I can tell you that of the franchise owners we have, a lot of them came to us never expecting to be in the cleaning industry.
Right.
But when they looked at it, they said, hey, this is, it's a low-cost investment. It's home-based. I don't have to go out and spend all this money to build a building. And really, it's everything I want. I just never knew that I could do this in cleaning. And we've had other people that came in and they thought, hey, cleaning is something I'm passionate about. I love to clean, and I'm like, but is it really the business that you want to be in? And sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
Right.
There was a guy that I talked to a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he was so passionate in our first call talking about how he wanted to start a comedy club. He loves doing stand-up comedy and all these different things. And I told him, I said, buying a franchise might not be the right thing for you. I said, no one else that you talk to is going to tell you to go and do something other than their franchise. I said, but I am.
Right.
I said, if you really have that much of a passion about that, figure it out, go and do it.
Go for it.
Don't do this if this is just something that you think might be okay. Do that thing that you're passionate about, because if you love it, it doesn't feel like work. And that, that's something that's so important too. But he shared with me, because he's still actually considering buying with us, because he said, you know what? He said the timing for that isn't right now. And he goes, so I want to use the Image One opportunity to build to build the nest egg that I'll need to open up that comedy club. I was like, that's awesome. Is that your goal? We can help you get to that eventually.
You can do that.
Fantastic. That's what we'll do for sure.
That's terrific. That's a great story. So I can ask you the next question, Tim, as the founder of the organization. I mean, what are Image One's plans for the future? I mean, if you could look maybe 3 years, 5 years down the road, where do you see the organization?
It's only been a couple of years that we've actually moved out from the Chicago market.
Mm-hmm.
So we had our foundation in Chicago. We've got over 50 franchise owners in the Chicago market. We've just started going out beyond that area. Actually, my two sons, who are 23 and 25, operate in Southwest Florida, and they're running the franchise down there. They've been around the business since they were born.
Babies.
And they both decided, hey, this is what we're going to do. And that's great. And then my brother decided, he worked for us on the corporate side. He goes, I'm going to go out to Denver and run a franchise out there. So he did that, and then we've got a few others that are across the country. So we've got about 5 outside the Chicago area. And so it's really an exciting time for us, because there's so much prime territory across the country that's available. And so our growth over the next 3 to 5 years, it's really just beginning. I mean, the foundations that we put in place in Chicago over the first 10 years were everything that we need to really explode. And we've got all that in place, all the policies and procedures, everything is documented, the videos are done, the training program's in place. And now that we're starting to roll it out, it's really an exciting time. So really, I don't even know what the next 3 to 5 years is going to hold. I just know there's so much opportunity out there, and I'm excited to bring it to so many different markets and share the concept with everybody. And those people that want to come along with us for the ride, if they're a good fit, we're all for it.
What's the best way, Tim, for our listeners to get more information on becoming an Image One franchisee, so the franchise opportunity and even the service itself, and even the book, if you want to plug that one more time? I'm going to get my hands on the book, by the way. It sounds fantastic.
So the website for Image One, if you're interested in the franchise, is imageonefranchise.com, and one is spelled out.
Okay.
So imageone, franchise.com.
Okay, great.
And then there's also a website that's geared more towards the franchisees, marketing their services to the end user clients, and that's imageoneusa.com. But for the franchise, they can look at either. There's good information in both. That would be the best way to get information.
Okay.
There's lots of free downloads on there, and they can fill out a contact us form, and then we'll reach out to them and talk to them. If someone is interested in the book, they can find it on Amazon. No New Ideas. if they just Google no new ideas and put my name after it, or if they're on Amazon and search it, it should come up, and they can get that there. And, that's, again, I think it'll help anyone that's in that franchise looking for a franchise. It'll help them through that process.
That's terrific. Well, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed talking to you today, Tim, and I'd already like to invite you back as you continue to grow, because I think you have a very strong franchise opportunity at Image One. So I look forward to speaking to you in the future.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here and talk about it. I really appreciate it. And anytime you'd have me back, I'd be more than happy to come.
Thank you, Tim. This has been my pleasure. And we'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.